So the first thing we'll do is go to the create shelf and create a tree, and then we use edit and random replicate to create myself 20 more trees. So that's now going to be my selection of trees. I just need to move my camera around to try and get an appropriately spooky angle for this, and you might notice that they're hovering above the ground, so I'm going to select all the trees using the selection tool here and just lower them so that their roots go into the ground so they don't look too weird. Okay, right, let's give that a quick render. So that's going to be my spooky angle on the trees, fairly low down. I'll just get a good grouping there. The next thing I'm going to do is modify these trees, so go to edit, turn the number of leaves down to 0 and edit the material, navigate through the library. So I'm going to use the Pro Materials LPAC 2, or is it, no, it's not that one, LPAC 1, there you go, and this coal material there, but I don't need the ambient output, so just turn the ambient down to 0, and that will set the trees to looking quite dark with a little bit of a specular highlight on. Indeed, I'm going to use the same material for the ground plane, so select the ground plane, go to the material and find the coal again, check that, get rid of the ambient, check that, and that gives me a dark ground now. It's going to be very dark, this scene, so I'm going to go to Sky and Fog, turn the atmosphere off, set the sky to fully black, and go into the Skylab and disable the sun, so there is now no light source in this scene at the moment. And then I'm going to create a single light source, edit it and increase the output of the diffuse to 100 and check out of there, and then I'm going to move this light source to the back of the tree somewhere here and put it fairly low down. So at the moment now you can see we're just getting a few shadows on the ground, and you can see the roots need lowering a bit further, so I'll select those trees again and lower them a little bit further into the ground. Okay, so the thing that's going to make this effect is I'm going to use Dan Whiteside's fog recipe, but I'm going to make it receive shadows as well. So the fog that he came up with looks like this, so I need to recreate this material for my fog material if I don't have it in my library already. So I'll just move that off to one side so I can see that in my other monitor, and we'll start by creating a default Bryce sphere, modifying the material. If you click on this blob here, it becomes a volume material. Its diffuse colour wants to be fully white, so hold the Alt key down and you can get this little menu and turn these sliders fully up, so we've got fully white output. 100 diffuse, we want 1 base density, 0 edge softness, 75 fuzzy factor, and for previewing purposes a quality and speed of 50. When it comes to rendering, we'll turn that up to 75 or some value like that. Under the material options, you want basic shading, and you don't need cast shadows, you don't need self shadows. Sky integration was checked, so I'll do that, but I don't think we've got any sky to integrate with because I've turned the atmosphere off. So that's now set my material up, ready to give it a test. So I'll check out of here, and what I do now is enlarge this sphere to start encompassing the trees. Now I don't want it to encompass all of the trees, because then if I do it in a sort of a blobbed area then it'll look spookier, I think. So I'll just tilt my camera back a bit so it fits in nicely and give that a quick render. So now you're getting the idea of where we're going with this. You can see these bands in the fog, and that's due to the quality settings, so it's just a matter of looking at that, seeing if that's appropriate. You can change some things on this, like if you increase the fuzzy factor to 100 for example, it'll get a bit darker and soft around the edges, and then you can enlarge it still a little bit further and it'll encompass a bit more of this light and then fade out, and it'll be less obviously a sphere. So the next thing to consider is, have we got a maximum bright area in the scene, which we have. Is the rest of this bright enough? It might be, but it could possibly do with being a bit brighter, so I'll modify this light output a little bit more, so I've got a bit more light coming into this because the fuzzy factor darkened the fog down a bit. And then if that looks about right for my effect, looks particularly spooky, I think. We're getting a bit of highlight on the ground, even though it's a very basic scene with just an infinite plane and a few trees. What you need to do is modify the sphere here and increase the quality to, I'm going to say 75, and then we'll see how that measures up in terms of render time. And the other thing is to look at these shadows and see whether there's any bands in the fog cast by the shadows. So that's taking 3/4 of an hour it's predicting, and bear in mind there's be an anti-alias pass as well, so that's going to take a while to render out. But essentially that's the scene completed. So there you go. I hope you found that interesting, and you'll have a go at using this process in your own renders. And thank you for Dan Whiteside for sharing this material with us. Cheers now.